Hello, everyone. Once again. Hey, how y'all doing? Come on, talk to me. All right. If you don't know me, my name is Joseph Garner, and I just want to say this before I get started. For those of you that have donated, I appreciate it very much. Nephew, can you please turn the volume down? Um, and for those of you who purchased the ticket, shared by word of mouth, this means a lot. Um, and I just want to give a shout out to a couple of individuals in this room, this entire section over here. My parents, my siblings, my brother-in-law, my homie, my grandmother, um, and then that beautiful individual over there, my wife, with the white. Baby, can you please stand up really quick so they can see you? Yes. I'm going to give a story in between sets, so they'll be short and sweet. Then I have my brother here from 2015. I remember I kept calling him Ian, and his name is Ian. I was pronouncing that I very heavily. But thank you for coming out, bro. We have a great relationship. My sister, Auntie Bria, we go way back. And for those of you that are questioning right now, where did this beautiful scenery come from? The one and only Jamila. Do you mind standing up and waving your hand? And we also have a very, very special guest in the room, her husband, and today is his birthday. So he could have been anywhere on a cruise, a different island. But he chose to be here, so I want to make sure that he gets his time's worth. All right, but with that being said, once again, I'm going to go back and forth, playing the grand, playing the electronic. Sometimes the electronic will be holding down an extra sound. I won't go deep into music theory. But for those of you who have no clue what sound therapy is, how many of you know what therapy is? Yes. Okay. So just put the effects of sound before therapy, and I'll leave it at that because it's not music therapy. I can say that. It's not music therapy. Two different things. So sound therapy is what you'll be given tonight, and I want you to come and expect. So whatever you came with emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever it was, and you don't want it anymore, by way of sound, my hope is that you don't leave with it. You don't not just leave this building, but you don't get up out of that seat and still feel the same way you do. Okay? Like I said, I'll have some stories to share in between, but I also want to give one more shout out, this individual, Darby, and her amazing husband, right? Okay. Me and Darby, we met at what actually inspired me to host these type of sessions. Not too long ago, I was playing the grand piano, but she's an amazing artist. Her husband are amazing vocalists, instrumentalists, worship leaders. So I just want to make sure that I make you aware that you are in a room with some very, very gifted people. All right, so tonight's sound therapy session will begin. Once again, please silence your phones. Nephew, if you can, put some headphones on, but all right. Thank you. So I just want to give a quick breakdown. The first song that I played, After the Storm, that, man, has a huge story. Um, I actually produced it twice, and the first version, the typical studio setting, instruments and certain BPM, things like that. But the second time, I produced it on an album where I only worked with the grand piano, and I produced this album known as One of a Kind. And I made it specifically for children, newborns, and it was actually my resume to some hospitals um, to basically get hired. This was during the pandemic. I was a college student, and unfortunately, the position that was available for me um, didn't even make it to my hands. There were people who were way more experienced that were getting laid off, and that position opened up over at Rush University Medical Center. They played it in the PICU, the NICU, and then that position and that opportunity ended up getting taken away during all the havoc in the pandemic. But God was like, I got something better. So over at University of Chicago, this facility known as the Sky Lobby, where they work with the Care and Discovery Center, the DCAM, and he placed me in an area where I'm basically sitting amidst families that are waiting to hear either a positive report or a negative report. And sometimes they're sitting there for weeks, days, months. Some people come from overseas, some people are coming from different cities down the street, but University of Chicago has such practices that are top tier, where people will come from all over the world just to get it done. And there was a grand piano sitting in the lobby back in 2019. And I just so happened to be one of those individuals who partook of the great practice of a neurologist. And this was, I believe, the summer of 2019. And a 3-day process, actually a 2.5-day process, turned into a 2-week process. And with that 2-week process, that was the longest I had ever gone without playing the piano. And that to me was torture. I was sitting in a room getting tests ran and things like that. And so when everything was over, I was leaving the facility. Well, before I left the facility, I got a huge wake-up call. I had to go through what's known as speech therapy, physical therapy. Unbeknownst to me, I needed emotional therapy as well. I had all of that already with my amazing parents, Stephen and Yolanda Garner, but I needed it even more. And I got wheelchaired out of the space that I was in, saw the piano, and I asked a faculty member, do you mind if I go play the piano? Mind you, I couldn't use the restroom by myself. I couldn't feed myself. I didn't even know what day and time it was, and I was probably, in my early 20s at the time, mid-20s. So I went, played the piano, and that was the song I played. And when I heard it, all I could do was just say, thank you, God, because he never takes gifts away. They come without repentance. But I sounded so amazing to myself, and I never even took the time to thank God for the gift because it was so normal, okay, God, I got this. I'm up, I could walk, I could talk, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, couldn't even remember, like I said, what day it was. But for some reason, he just wanted to show me how great he was by placing a grand piano in the middle of a state-of-the-art facility, just open, for nobody was playing it. And with that, he used me to create a program at this hospital that thousands of families are benefiting from, and it's called Healing Through the Arts. So back in 2019, one of the staff members saw me playing and asked me if I was up for it. I said, of course. And I've been doing that since then, having tremendous encounters, meeting families that I probably won't ever meet again. But due to how amazing God is, they'll be able to hear my sound on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else he sends me. So I want you all to know that the gift that God has given you, whether it's music, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, do not be afraid to use it because you have no clue when you'll be called on, pulled on by him, and how many people will benefit from it, including yourself. So with the next phase of this, I want to encourage you all to take out your phones, make sure they're still on silent, um, go to your notes or something like that, and write down whatever it is. Don't think about it too hard. Whatever it is that comes to mind when you hear whatever it is that I'm playing next. But I do want to point out that your mental state may be disturbed in a good way by how this sounds because it is not the normal, or should I say the most popular sound hertz in which we are used to. So made a little change, but I want you all to get your phones, like I said, make sure they're on silent, write something. If you all don't want to do that, just close your eyes and think, because in a typical session, we'd be sitting down with our eyes closed, legs crossed, humming, and not knowing what we're doing. But I'm giving you clear instructions. So write down, and whatever it is, if it's a vision, if it's a goal, if it's a house that you want, if it's a job that you want, if it's a family that you want. I want a family. I'm praying for my baby boy, my baby girl, whenever that time comes, but that's what I'm praying for at this time while I play. But whatever it is that he gives you, do it. It'll just be a couple minutes, and the moment I stop, open up your eyes, and then we'll move on. All right. I got what I needed. All right. Story time. Well, first of all, how many of you enjoyed that little bit? Okay. I just want to put this out there. You won't ever hear anything like that again. This is a completely different Hertz, and then I just made it up, so that's why you won't ever hear it again. So, story time. Um, do not know what year it is, but I know I was what year it was, but I was 8 years old. And this beautiful lady right here, you all know her as Mother May or Yolanda's mother, but that's my homie, my grandmother. She bought my second youngest brother a keyboard, Dr. Joshua, and he was not interested in it. At the time, I was a drummer full-time at the church, aspiring NBA player at 4 feet, maybe 3 inches, very short fellow. But she bought this keyboard, this Casio, the one that you press and the keys light up. So it automatically got my attention just because the keys lit up. I didn't know what I was doing, but just played it. I don't know how long I was playing it, but I told my parents about it, showed them something I had came up with, and all I remember hearing is my dad saying, you playing on Sunday. I'm like, but I play the drums, and I didn't know that the need for that position was very heavy. Now that I'm older, a pastor in the church, worship pastor at that, this is like the cream de la cream. Like, you need this. If it's not the keyboard, it's the organ. You'll be fine without the drums. But yeah, so that happened at the age of 8. At the age of 10, I went over to a music school. Some of you may know who they are, the Franklin Brothers, over on 87th, right there by the red line. And whatever it was that I played at the time, they were just like, where have you been at? I'm like, upstairs in my room playing my Casio and go in the backyard and play basketball when I got free time. So they helped me learn this thing known as the Nashville system, playing by ear, the letters and the numbers when it comes down to playing music. And from that day forward, 10 up until this very present day, I'll be 30 next month. 20 plus years in ministry, playing the piano, playing the drums every now and then, teaching my younger brother how to play the drums, and his son is playing the drums, having multiple students all across the world, giving lessons via Zoom and things like that. But that seed that my grandmother sowed years ago, she had no clue what was going on. But it led to me being an entrepreneur. At the age of 15, I was in high school, and I was like, man, I don't want to work, the typical Burger King job, then come back to school, or the McDonald's job, but I wanted some money. So I made an agreement with my parents, and I was like, if you can help me out, making some music, but I fell off with that. And then all of a sudden, I recorded some stuff, and my dad was like, you need to get that on the CD. So I don't even know what time it was, but I know it was late at night. We were over friends at the time studio and just recorded nonstop. And he got to naming the tracks. I'm looking around, and all these adults are looking at me crying, and I'm like, what y'all crying for? What's going on? And unbeknownst to me, the sounds that were being heard was therapeutic to their physical body, their mental, the spiritual, and I'm just an innocent 15-year-old at the time doing something I love. Like, if it sounds good, hit the record button. Right. That was the first CD known as the Joseph Project. And fun fact, the picture of that album is covered in black and white, but it's actually me on the school bus with my headphones on. That's how urgent it was to get that out. I couldn't even get a professional picture. That led to the Joseph Project 2, that led to the Joseph Project 3, that led to Soothing Sounds, that led to One of a Kind, multiple singles, features on multiple music projects, and I fell in love with instrumental music. And God saw fit to hook me up and place me under the marital covenant of a very special vocalist, my wife, who has a story to tell, and when she tells it, I hope you all are here to hear it. But she's an amazing vocalist, vocal coach. She works beside me here at the church because I am not a singer. I am a musician, producer, and a pastor at that. So that's just one bit of the story. The second, my parents, Stephen and Yolanda Garner. The age of 15 was literally where it all started. Long story short, like I said, aspiring basketball player. This was during the Thanksgiving tournament. I was a kid from the city in a class full of maybe 15 kids, and we were best friends all throughout middle school because we were a private school, and nobody really wanted to pay that private school amount back then, so we grew well accustomed to each other. So transitioning from the middle school to a huge high school of over 4,000 kids, not knowing a soul in there, but one cousin who I ran into probably once a week. Joined the basketball team, made it freshman B team, first year, sophomore year, actually made the team again. And with that, I found my calling, I found my purpose. In the middle of a game, I had a neurological breakdown, which led to a bunch of things taking place, and I eventually had to give up playing basketball as a safety precaution. But like I said earlier, something about that gift when it's just sitting there and not being used, it's never going to leave. So basketball faded away. I eventually joined jazz band at my high school, and they were like, where have you been at? I'm like, I've been on the basketball court trying to make it to the NBA. And I'm like, you needed to be here. And just like at the hospital years later, but there was a black grand piano waiting. Nobody was playing it. I ended up joining jazz band, playing in jazz band 3, jazz band 2, jazz band 1. the Christmas concert, Mayor Roger Claire's, the mayor of Bolingbrook, his Christmas party. It was phenomenal, and all of this happened my last 2 years of college. And so what I wanted, God saw something better. And with that, I was experiencing some neurological tests, ran week after week, day after day. And a lot of people don't know that I never missed a Sunday service. And it wasn't because I had to be here. I just felt like I was missing out on something. And it could be that Saturday night, just getting released from the hospital, boom, I'm back at it Sunday morning because God gave me this gift and I'm not letting it sit. Fast forward, I get to college. This neurological thing wants to hover over me, try to affect my grades, try to affect my speech, but I end up getting nominated by a college professor in my least favorite class, finance. I barely passed that class, and it was one of the last classes I had to take my senior year at Columbia College Chicago. So he calls me into his office, and I'm like, oh, here we go, fifth-year senior. He's like, man, you ever think about speaking, representing the business department at Columbia? Like, representing the business department? I was like, I like music. I'm not thinking about business. So I speak. I keep forgetting what the name of the presentation is, but you have 3 minutes to present a 20-point PowerPoint slide. And the PowerPoints are changing as you're speaking, so you can't turn around and look because those are seconds that are being taken away. And I was told right after that that was the best one that the professors have ever heard, like in a long time. To this very day, they still use it as an example to the business department at Columbia. And this is new news to my family, but I ran into a professor about a week ago walking down the street, and he was asking where I had been, and I'll have a meeting with him next week to speak to the students before they graduate, the business department at Columbia. So a wonderful opportunity. And then with that, my professor, Professor Ryan, he introduced me to this passion and this zeal for entrepreneurship. So I made an agreement with Self, and I said, Self, and just like my Self said, huh? I was like, man, I don't want to work for anybody. Is that prideful? Is that arrogant? Self was like, nah, man, you just got to put the work and time in. So since the age of 15 up until this very day, I've been an entrepreneur, working in hospitals, working in ministry, working in music, medicine. My wife was trying to get me into fitness because I love going to the gym, love working out, things like that. But entrepreneurship is my go-to, marketing, personal branding, things like that. I actually have a degree in business. It's not in music, surprise. So that is just part of my testimony. But I want to share with you this special piece. And those 4 amazing individuals, my 3 nieces and my 1 nephew, they know this piece very well, but God gave me this song, and it actually ministered to me as a young adult. So when you hear it, just listen to it, and even though you're grown, take it to heart and be like, okay, accept it. It's bringing peace to you, bringing healing to your body, your mental well-being. Or the kid in you, yes, mama. Yes, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That song goes a long way, believe it or not. Um, I have another song. This one is a very popular Christmas song, Silent Night. This was my senior year of high school on the black grand piano again. Um, it was pitch black, and I couldn't see anybody in there. And I'm glad that was the case because I was extremely nervous. That high school was humongous. So I played this piece, and it was quiet for probably 5 seconds after I played. And it was just a loud round of applause. That was the first, actually, that I've ever heard. And as I make my way back to the stage, I'm looking at parents, and they're crying and weeping. I'm like, wow, people crying listening to Silent Night? But hey, God put something on it. So um, I hope you all find pleasure in this rendition of Silent Night. And then after this, I will have one more solo, and then I have some very exciting announcements to share. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I could do this all night, so I'm going to close this so I can get to the good part. So you can take your phones back out. Thank you so much for coming out. I have available some QR codes. You can keep up with me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook if you don't already. And the amazing individual who I introduced earlier, Miss Jamila, who set this up, as well as the beautiful decorum in the hallway, and this with the QR code, that amazing picture and everything like that. She created that as well. And these right here. So those of you who want this at your wedding, because it definitely looks like it's wedding material, please reach out to her. It's amazing. And I just want to put this out there. All of this, I mean, come on now, this right here is just, I got to have this in my penthouse because this is just amazing with the floral decoration. This was discussed all through a text message. So that just shows you how amazing she is. But like I said, can't be that amazing without that amazing husband of hers, whose birthday they are celebrating today. So once again, thank you very much, sir, and happy birthday to you. And the other individual I want to give a round of applause to is the man behind all of this wonderful sound, the YouTube as well. Hello to my YouTube family. Mr. Donovan, man, it seems like he was just out of my life for way too long, so I'm glad he finally showed himself. He works alongside with my parents as well with their private events, public events. Awesome audio, awesome visuals. So if you want to go back and check this out on YouTube, he's the man behind the sound and the camera. My wife and I have had some amazing conversations with him just in talking about music, talking about sound engineering, and honestly, he is just a walking book of so much information. So, Brother Donovan, thank you so much for helping me out tonight. Please get that information. And he's also a great teacher as well, so if you are interested in learning about any of the services that he provides, audio, video, streaming, recording, he is a great teacher as well. Next slide, please. Yes, so as I stated throughout the night about how amazing God is and how he healed me, drum roll. Give me a drum roll, Junior. Give me a drum roll. Yeah, thank you. So, God healed me is not just a statement, but it is also a book. I have written, yes. So, it took everything in me not to tell my family. And believe me, they were poking, they were asking. They was poking more than I used to do on Facebook in high school. So, if you don't know about that, you don't need to know, okay? But God Healed Me is an amazing book. It's almost done. Well, it's finished, but it'll be available as an ebook very soon. It's just a very, thank you. It's a very down-to-earth testimonial. So it is not your typical book. You will be able to understand everything that I'm saying as if we're somewhere sitting down having coffee. And a couple of scriptures that stick out, but the chapter titles, I just want to give a preview. I have a chapter title known as My Brother's Keeper, and that chapter talks about my two little brothers and how they became my big brothers when I was in my season of regaining stability and things like that. They were doing the things that I wanted to do for them, but due to the circumstances at hand, never had the ability to, the time to, the strength to. And when I looked back at all of that, I was like, man, I didn't skip a beat. Like, my little brothers really stepped up. And I also have my sister included. Um, my sister has 7 years on me, but during that time, still to this day though, she was a mother, she was an auntie, she was best friend, she was a nurse, all of that. And I have my parents in that chapter as well. And I just want to, I want to make sure that you get this book. It's a good book. Um, I don't want to give you too much, but I have a moment in there where I talk about my parents and the roles that they played during this time. As a 20-something-year-old man, I would go up to my dad and I would simply ask him, "Hey man, can I get a hug?" And he would give me a hug, and he had absolutely no clue what I was going through. And neither did the people that I was even more close with. Like I said, I would be coming to church every Sunday, playing, and just seconds or minutes before I got to church, I was thinking about committing suicide. And every single time that happened, God would tell me, "You know I love you, right?" I'm like, who is this talking to me? Because, man, this is getting on my nerves. And every single time it was a thought or it was an attempt, it was failed. And it was a lot of attempts. 15 years, you put how many times that's in there. And the relationship I have with my dad is just amazing. And then my mom, this superhuman, she stepped up and she was like, "Age is just a number." She was like, "You always gonna be my baby, whatever you need, da 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 da." That tender love and care, she provided it, and they still do to this very day. And I have a chapter as well about my amazing wife and how we met. That right there is, yeah, it's an amazing, that's an amazing chapter in who she is to me this very day and who she continues to become and involve as that amazing woman. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for coming out. That is all I have to say, but this amazing platform up here, please come take a picture with me, tag me in it. If you see somebody in here, say hello that you don't know. And please be on the lookout for the book, be on the lookout for some more instrumental music coming. And don't forget to reach out to these amazing people, Donovan and Jamila, with their amazing services. So please, let's give them a round of applause again. And I have one more announcement. Ladies, if you are alone, please make sure that one of the gentlemen who was at the front door and introduced themselves walk you back to your vehicle. Please and thank you. All right, have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great weekend.